Tonight, Jamaica faces a storm of historic proportions. Hurricane Melissa, a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane, has made landfall. With sustained winds of 175 miles per hour and gusts over 300 kilometers per hour, Melissa is the most powerful hurricane to strike Jamaica since records began in 1851. The storm's slow movement means its destructive force will linger, compounding damage hour by hour. Melissa has already surpassed the infamous Hurricane Gilbert of 1988, setting a new benchmark for disaster on the island. Rapid intensification in the warm Caribbean waters turned a tropical wave into this monstrous vortex in just days. Now, millions face the longest, most terrifying night of their lives as the hurricane's full fury is unleashed. The resilience of the Jamaican people will be tested as never before. Across Jamaica, the relentless roar of wind and torrential rain is overwhelming the island's defenses. The storm's fury is unyielding, with gusts so powerful they rip branches from trees and send debris flying through the air. Streets that were once bustling with life are now deserted, as the howling wind drowns out all other sounds. The very landscape seems to tremble under the weight of the hurricane, and the people of Jamaica brace themselves for the worst night in living memory. Catastrophic flash flooding is inundating homes and washing out roads, while landslides threaten hillside communities. Rivers have burst their banks, turning neighborhoods into lakes and making travel impossible. Emergency services are stretched to their limits, struggling to reach those in need as the water rises ever higher. In the hills, entire slopes give way, sending mud and debris crashing down onto homes and roads below, cutting off entire villages from help. Some regions may see up to a meter of rain over 3 feet, triggering widespread landslides and devastation. The relentless downpour has left fields submerged and crops destroyed, threatening food supplies for months to come. Families huddle together, watching helplessly as floodwaters creep higher, carrying away possessions and memories. The scale of destruction is almost unimaginable, with entire communities facing the loss of everything they have built. Along the southern coast, a massive storm surge is flooding communities, with water levels rising up to 13 feet above normal. Seawater pours into homes and businesses, leaving behind a trail of destruction. Boats are tossed onto roads, and once familiar landmarks vanish beneath the waves. The force of the surge is so great that it reshapes the coastline, erasing beaches and flooding low-lying areas that have never seen water like this before. Mandatory evacuations have emptied historic areas like Port Royal and parts of Kingston. Streets that once echoed with laughter and music now stand silent, their residents forced to leave behind cherished homes and businesses. Authorities move door to door, urging everyone to seek higher ground, while volunteers help the elderly and vulnerable to safety. The sense of loss is palpable, as centuries-old neighborhoods are left to face the storm alone. Power outages and failing communications have plunged the nation into darkness and isolation. Entire cities are without electricity, their only light the occasional flash of lightning. Downed power lines and damaged communication towers make it nearly impossible for families to check on loved ones or call for help. The silence is broken only by the storm's fury, as Jamaicans wait anxiously for news from the outside world. Airports are closed, cutting Jamaica off from the outside world. Flights are grounded, and empty terminals echo with the sound of the storm battering the windows. Relief supplies and rescue teams are unable to land, leaving the island to face the hurricane's wrath alone. For many, the realization that help may be days away adds to the growing sense of fear and uncertainty. For those sheltering in place, the sense of isolation is profound as they hope their homes will withstand the onslaught. Families gather in candlelit rooms, listening to the relentless wind and rain battering their walls. Children cling to parents, seeking comfort in the darkness, while neighbors check in on each other when it is safe to do so. The hours stretch on, each minute feeling like an eternity as the storm rages outside. The nation endures, waiting for the storm to pass. In the face of unimaginable adversity, the spirit of the Jamaican people remains unbroken. They draw strength from each other, holding on to hope that when the sun rises, they will begin the long journey of recovery together. Even as Hurricane Melissa rages with relentless force, the human toll is mounting by the hour. The storm's fury has left entire communities reeling, as families huddle together, hoping for the worst to pass. The howling winds and sheets of rain have turned once familiar streets into rivers, and the sense of fear is palpable across the island. At least 3 fatalities have been confirmed so far, and authorities fear that the number will rise as the full extent of the disaster becomes clear. For many, the loss is deeply personal. Loved ones lost, homes destroyed, and lives forever changed in a matter of hours. In response, authorities issued urgent evacuation orders, opening more than 800 emergency shelters across the island. Schools, churches, and community centers have been transformed into makeshift sanctuaries where families seek refuge from the storm's wrath. Volunteers work tirelessly, providing food, blankets, and comfort to those who have lost everything. Thousands have fled to safety, carrying only what they could grab in the chaos. Yet many others, elderly residents, those without transportation or people unwilling to abandon their homes, remain trapped in vulnerable houses, now battered by wind and water. For them, every hour brings new uncertainty and danger. Emergency responders are standing by, ready to risk their lives to save others. But for now, the conditions are simply too dangerous for rescue operations. Teams wait anxiously, knowing that every minute counts, but unable to move until the worst of the storm passes. Melissa's devastation is not limited to Jamaica. The storm has already unleashed deadly flooding and landslides in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, leaving a trail of destruction across the region. Entire neighborhoods have been swallowed by water and mud, and the scale of the disaster is growing with each report. The true scale of loss will only become clear once the winds subside and rescue teams can finally reach the hardest-hit areas. For now, much of the devastation remains hidden, with entire communities cut off and desperate for help. This is a regional disaster of immense proportions, leaving behind not just physical destruction, but also deep emotional scars. Families mourn, survivors cling to hope, and communities come together in the face of overwhelming adversity. The world watches as Jamaica faces one of its darkest hours, hoping for relief, rescue, and the strength to rebuild in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. Hurricane Melissa's path of destruction is far from over. The storm is now heading toward Cuba, where a hurricane watch is in effect for the eastern provinces. Cuban authorities are evacuating hundreds of thousands, bracing for torrential rain, flash floods, and mudslides. After Cuba, Melissa is projected to threaten the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, where warnings are in place for low-lying islands. These communities, still scarred by Hurricane Dorian in 2019, now face another existential threat. Officials urge residents to complete preparations and heed evacuation orders. The psychological toll is immense, as memories of past devastation fuel anxiety. Melissa is a different storm, but no less dangerous. Survival depends on swift action and vigilance. Hurricane Melissa's danger lies in its terrifying combination of intensity and slow movement. Unlike faster-moving storms, Melissa's slow pace means that its destructive forces linger over affected areas for much longer. This prolonged exposure can lead to unprecedented levels of damage and devastation. Category 5 winds can level even well-built homes and snap concrete power poles. The sheer force of these winds can turn everyday objects into deadly projectiles, causing further destruction and posing significant risks to anyone caught in the storm. The storm's slow crawl means catastrophic winds, rain, and storm surge linger for hours, maximizing destruction. Coastal towns face the brunt of this onslaught, with storm surges flooding streets and homes, while relentless rain leads to severe inland flooding. Jamaica's infrastructure has never faced a storm of this magnitude, and many residents lack first-hand experience with such danger. This inexperience can lead to inadequate preparation and a false sense of security, making the impact even more devastating. This can lead to underestimating the threat and ignoring evacuation orders. When residents choose to stay behind, they put themselves and emergency responders at greater risk, complicating rescue efforts and increasing the potential for loss of life. The aftermath will bring a humanitarian crisis. Access to clean water, food, and medical care will be severely compromised. Communities will struggle to meet basic needs, and the strain on resources will be immense. Damaged roads and bridges will hamper relief efforts, prolonging recovery. Emergency crews will face significant challenges in reaching those in need, delaying critical aid and exacerbating the crisis. The government will need significant international aid, and rebuilding will take years. The scale of the destruction will require a coordinated global response, with long-term commitments to restore infrastructure and support affected communities. Melissa's impact will persist long after the winds die down. The recovery process will be slow and arduous, with residents facing the daunting task of rebuilding their lives from the ground up. Preparedness and resilience are the only defenses. Communities must come together to strengthen their readiness for future storms, ensuring that they are better equipped to withstand and recover from such catastrophic events. Amid tragedy, a social media influencer, Hannah Grubbs, sparked outrage by treating the hurricane as a mere inconvenience during her vacation in Negril. Her tone-deaf posts, complaining about the storm and showcasing resort luxuries, were met with fierce backlash. Critics condemned her for consuming resources needed by locals and for the resort's decision to keep staff working during a national emergency. The incident highlights the disconnect between online content creation and real-world suffering. For Jamaicans, Melissa is not content. It's a life-threatening disaster. The controversy is a stark reminder to respect the gravity of such events. Throughout Hurricane Melissa, clear communication from officials has been vital. The National Hurricane Center and Jamaica Meteorological Service have issued constant updates, guiding emergency decisions. Prime Minister Andrew Holness and emergency managers have delivered direct, urgent messages: evacuate, prioritize safety, and do not take chances. Mandatory evacuation zones and shelter locations have been publicized, with warnings about storm surge and landslides. Once winds reach dangerous speeds, emergency services cannot respond. Self-preservation is critical. Similar warnings are now in effect for Cuba, the Bahamas, and Turks and Caicos. The message is clear: get out of the storm's path and seek sturdy shelter. For those in Melissa's path, following safety procedures is crucial. Obey evacuation orders immediately. Your life depends on it. Prepare a go bag with essentials, know your evacuation route, and secure your home if you must shelter in place. Move to a windowless, interior room on the lowest level, away from flood risk. Charge devices, store clean water, and keep a battery-powered radio for updates. Be aware of the eye of the storm. Calm does not mean it's over. Do not venture outside until officials declare it safe. Wal de bois and stir, one quern bomb. Survival depends on preparation and vigilance. Hurricane Melissa is a sobering lesson in nature's power and the importance of preparedness. Heeding official warnings can mean the difference between survival and tragedy. Misinformation spreads quickly. Trust only reliable sources for guidance. The danger continues after the storm, flooding, downed lines, and health risks remain. Recovery is a marathon, requiring ongoing caution and community support. For those affected, the coming days will test resilience and spirit. By staying alert and prioritizing safety, we can endure and rebuild.